Okay, on the GY48V, which is this gyro here, it's a $12 gyro, and it's got to be the best gyro for 12 bucks that I have ever seen. Right now I'm in rate mode. I have my switch down, which is under 50% on the DX6i, and you can see there is no light on this. If there's no light, that means you're in rate mode. Now, if there was a solid light, that means that you are in head holding mode, or head hold, HH, however you want to call it. Holding head, I've heard it called so many different things. So whenever you're flying, you want that to be solid red unless you give it stick input, and then it's going to sit there and start to flash. So what you want to do is put it in rate mode. What that's going to do is going to allow you to center your tail servo arm to 90 degrees to the link, or to the rod. Now what I did, I still have my radio plugged in, but I had to shut my radio off, or I still have my battery plugged into the receiver, but I had to shut my radio off because my batteries were dying. I've been playing with it just a little too much. But everything stayed in the same position. As you can see, my tail servo, it is almost exactly where it needs to be. I'm going to leave it right there. The next thing you need to do is you need to figure out, is my tail servo, is the gyro moving the servo the correct direction? Okay, now, I know you're asking yourself, you know, why do I have to be in rate mode? Well, if you watch your tail servo, it's always going to go back to center. If I flip this into head holding mode, I'll move this out of the way so you can see that light that I was talking about. See how the light came on? Now I'm in head holding mode, but now if I give it an input, now it's going to stay over there to the right. Now the reason that is I gave this gyro an input to go, and I told it to move to a certain position. It has not moved to that position. It's going to stay there until that helicopter moves into position, and then it'll come back. Now if I go the other way, same thing. You know, it'll just stay there. So if you put it in rate mode, I'll go ahead and move it all the way over here to the right. If you put it in rate mode, automatically centers every time. That is why you do that. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out, is the radio going to control the tail servo, or yeah, the tail servo in the correct orientation? The way you check that, watch this slider. If I go right, that should go left, because what that's going to do is it's going to pitch these blades, and as you can see, this is the trailing edge. The air is going to be coming off of that, and it's going to move this to the left, which is nose right, and then opposite for that. The gyro is a little bit harder to notice, especially on camera. I'm going to try my best, but you want it to do the same thing. If you move this tail to the right, then this slider should go to the left. Alright, you can see the tail slider there. Move to the right, that's going right. Move to the left, it's going left. Okay, now we know this, the gyro is backwards. So what we need to do is go up here. I know this is upside down for you guys, and I apologize, and I also apologize for the shaking. But you want to go in here, and on this little dip switch, you're going to have a DIR, which is direction, normal, reverse. What we need to do is go in there and just push that switch over. Now we got to go back and check the tail. Alright, now when I move left, it should go right. Left, right. Now it's moving in the correct direction. So we know that the gyro is set up. We know that the radio is set up to the tail servo to get it to go in the right direction. Now we just need to do all the little finalized settings. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is actually set up the limits. Now as you can see, I move it over, it stops right there, but I've got all this stick movement still left. There's two ways you can do this. You can adjust your travel adjustment, or adjust the limit on your gyro itself. What I'm going to do is adjust the limit. I turned the limit up so that I could show you guys the movement back there. So I'm going to turn the limit about halfway, maybe a little bit more down, and we're going to try it. Well, now, see, I've only got just that right there. Turn the limit down just a little bit more. I'm going to have to adjust this out within the radio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the limit to halfway. That's going to give me a good starting point for whenever I go outside. What I need to do is I need to go in to my radio and go into travel adjustment. Now, you're going to have your rudder, which is in the middle on the right. I'm going to go left. I know right there is where I need it. That is as far as it can go until it starts binding up. So, go over here to my rudder. I don't know why I was thinking servo or gyro. Don't adjust the gyro, only adjust the rudder. So we're going to go left. We're going to knock that down to about 60. Alright, we still got some binding, a little bit more. Right there. That gives me the perfect amount of throw. Now we got to do the same thing for going right. As you can see, when I move it, that arrow is going to change. So now I need to knock that down. Okay, go a little bit more. Now I'm getting full throw out of that tail servo, but it's not binding. You want to sit there and play with this a couple times just to make sure that all your settings are correct. If there's anything that you take the most amount of time on, it's setting all of this up. It's your first settings that you're putting into this helicopter. So my settings right now are right 50% and then left 39%. Now why is that like that? I can guarantee you the reason I have more right than I do left is because that slider is more than likely not centered. You can see I go all the way that way, and I go all the way that way. Everything's working the way it's supposed to. The only way to actually finalize this is to take it outside and put it up in the air and see how this tail's going to hold. So that is pretty much the preliminary setups for the gyro, and we're ready to go ahead and move on to the head and set it up. So let's go ahead back out of this menu and just go to the main.